3, 2, 1. I am joined now by State Senator Merv Riepe, and Senator, we're going to talk winner take all, and I just want to know a couple things. One, walk us through the meeting from Wednesday that happened at the governor's mansion.
Well, Lindsey Graham was in town, obviously from D.C., and the state of Nebraska is a assignment of congressional electoral votes by district, and so he was in here. The interest is to try to get Nebraska to go to a winner take all, and that was the purpose of the meeting, was to call the sitting 49 senators, as many as they could get, to that meeting to try to see if they had enough to be able to have successful legislation in a special session, which would take, in Nebraska, we have 49 senators. It takes 25 votes to pass the law, the majority, but to get by a cloture motion, it takes 33. And so the governor, before he would call a special session, needed to have the 33 votes. And that was to try to get everyone in the room and see if he could get that kind of a commitment.
Do you believe that he has that commitment or can get that commitment?
He was coming up, and is still, in the best of my knowledge, coming up about 3 votes short of having that commitment.
I want to get to your thoughts on it specifically, but one of the reports out there, I'm not sure if it was Nebraska Examiner or Washington Post, said that you spoke with former President Trump on the phone. Is that correct?
That is correct, very briefly.
Are you able to tell us anything about that phone call at all, or?
No, Lindsey Graham made the call to the president, and in the room was Governor Pillen and Lindsey Graham and myself. And he laid the phone then on the desk, on the speakerphone, and President Trump came on and said, Governor Pillen, nice to talk to you. You're doing a great job. And he said hello to me, and we talked very briefly. But he was very cordial, very positive, not in any way requiring any expectation. He just simply said how important it was, how Nebraska was important to him, and particularly because of this, what's called the blue dot, this one congressional district that we have that in the past, on 2 occasions, has gone Republican, and on 2 occasions gone Democratic in the recent years. So with a close election, obviously he's concerned, and they're concerned.
That makes sense. Where do you stand on 2 things? Where do you stand on the idea itself, and then where do you stand on the timing of all this coming up? I mean, we're less than definitely almost 7 weeks away from Election Day, I believe, at this point, and we're also past the point of no return for Maine to try to undo, so to speak, what Nebraska might do as far as the whole winner-take-all system goes.
Well, I think we've had past opportunities to make this change in Nebraska, and I think that it's an 11th hour sort of a Hail Mary kind of an approach to this thing. I don't think that the votes currently exist within the legislature, and so I'm not optimistic that this will be successful. But as they say, as Dizzy Dean said, it ain't over till it's over, so we will see. I happen to be real of voting by congressional district, but because I think that puts the vote closer to the people. But saying that, California with 54 districts, if they would go to congressional electoral votes by congressional district, then I would celebrate and I would fight to keep ours. The way that it is Nebraska is disadvantaged by being one of 2 states that breaks down its electoral college votes. And it could be very instrumental in this election. Maybe not. We don't know.
Do you or any other state senators that you know of, I don't want to have you put words in anybody's mouths, but anybody you've spoken to, do any of you feel any pressure from a certain camp that may want to get this special session going and having the change made before the election?
Well, I don't think that it's extreme pressure. You know, when you're in the position of being in an elected office, you're always going to have some pressure from people that are concerned on both sides that either want you to be in favor of or in opposition to. So I don't see this one as being much different than a lot of others. And certainly the Trump campaign has not been excessively leveraging senators, if you will. I have felt none. They've talked to me, but they've never said, if you don't, then this, or if you do, we will. That's never been the case.
Good to know. Have you or any other state senators that you know of heard from the Harris campaign at all? I assume that at some point they would be interested in this exercise as well.
All I know is what I read in the paper, and what the paper says is the Harris campaign had no comment.
Okay.
So they have not, to the best of my interest or best of my knowledge, had any contact whatsoever.
My last question, I'll let you go. I appreciate every minute that you're giving us. Were you surprised at all when Wednesday came and Senator Lindsey Graham showed up and the 5 members of Nebraska's congressional delegation issued the letter pretty much all kind of at the same time? Was that a surprise, or was that something that was kind of expected?
Well, I had talked with 4 out of the 5 members of the congressional delegation on a personal call, and we thought Marco Rubio was going to come in, but that their schedules got moved around, and so, but it was no surprise, you know, with air travel the way it is and the importance of this particular election season, it was not a surprise. He was very pleasant. It was good to see him, and you know, he talked a little bit. I think his biggest concern was with the implications of foreign policy, not so much domestic, because he thought hopefully we can hold the House and the Senate from a conservative perspective. But I think his biggest concern, and maybe that's Senator Graham's biggest theme, is, you know, the Middle East, Ukraine, China, and Taiwan, and all of those different operations, I think, are more his concerns with the Harris administration.
Understood. Senator Merv Riepe, I very much appreciate the time that you've given us today and all that insight into what went on Wednesday and what's really going on for you, a state senator, and the other 48 state senators going into a very hotly debated and talked about situation that's now getting national attention. I appreciate it.
Fine, thanks.
Senator, thank you so much again.